Next part of Module 8, under linear relationships and slope, we have lesson 8.4, and this is all about direct variation. So, our learning target, I can derive the equation y is equal to mx from the slope formula and use direct variation equations to represent and solve real world and mathematical problems. Okay, the vocabulary that we are going to be learning in this lesson, we have constant of proportionality, constant of variation, direct variation. So these are the three words we are going to learn in this lesson. So I've written out an equation, and that's the direct variation equation, which is y is equal to mx. So let's quickly talk about what these terms actually mean. All right. So when the ratio of two variable quantities is constant, okay, a proportional linear relationship exists. And this proportional linear relationship is called a direct variation. So this is a proportional linear relationship, okay? And this is called direct variation. And the constant ratio is also called the constant of variation or the constant of proportionality. So this is called the constant ratio is called either the constant of variation or it's called the constant of proportionality. In the direct variation equation, y is equal to mx. M is representing the constant of variation, all right? Or it's also representing the constant of proportionality and the unit rate. So M is representing all of these, okay, because they are the same thing. So once again, M represents the constant of variation, the constant of proportionality, unit rate, also the slope, because the slope is the unit rate. Okay, so these are all the things that M is representing. So I would like you to look at a graph. We take you across. All right. So let's look at this graph, and the same one that y, if I say y is equal to mx, so that is the direct variation equation that we are using. So please look, a direct variation is a linear relationship in which the ratio of y to x is a constant, which is m. And then we say y varies directly with x. Okay, so y varies directly with x because m is the constant of proportionality. So as you can see, m is equal to y over x, or y is equal to mx, where m is the constant of variation, m is not equal to 0. Go ahead and look at the slope. And the slope of the graph of y is equal to mx is m. All right, so and we had talked about that just now, that m represents a lot of things and slope is one of them. And so y is equal to mx. Since 0, 0 is one solution over here, the graph of a direct variation relationship always passes through the origin. And that's what I was telling you in the earlier slide. You can use the slope formula to derive the direct variation equation. Okay, and we know that the slope formula m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and we can see that one of the points is what? Here, because it has to pass through the origin. And so we have x1 and y1 in this case are both 0. Okay, this is x1 and this is y1. So we are just going to replace, because the y2 minus 0 over x2 minus 0. All right. And so we get, what do we get? We can say, just, you can just say y over x. So y2 over x2 is y over x in this case. So yes, is equal to m. So slope is equal to y over x. All right. And that is definitely the constant of proportionality. Or I can also say y is equal to mx. So just wanted to explain this to you before we start solving some problems. So let's go on to this one. And here we go. So the cost Y of gymnastics lessons varies directly with the number of sessions X as shown in the graph. So this is going to vary directly on the number of with the X, which is the number of sessions. Write a direct variation equation to represent this relationship, then identify the constant of variation and interpret its meaning. Okay, so we know that the direct variation equation is y is equal to mx. So we're going to first find the slope over here using the graph. And I know that slope is rise over run. And then I'm going to choose any 2 points on the line and find the ratio of the rise to the run between the 2 points. Okay, so let's choose these 2 points. And so if I do, x1, y1, and then we have x2, y2. So what is, when I'm doing rise, which is what? y2 minus y1. So 20 minus 10, what do I get? I get 10. All right. And then 2 minus 1, and I get 1. So my slope, m, is 10. Right? So that's the slope of the line. Now, the next thing is saying use the value of m to write this equation. So we talked about the formula, which is y is equal to mx. And we know that my slope is 10. So we are going to replace that because m represents the slope also. So y is equal to 10x. And the direct variation equation is y is equal to 10x. And then you're going to find the constant of variation, interpret its meaning. The constant of variation is equal to the slope of the graph. So the constant of variation is also 10. This is the constant of variation. That's also the slope. That's also the constant of proportionality. So that's also the unit rate. Okay, so this 10 over here, this m is representing all that. So this means that the unit rate or cost per session is $10. The cost of bulk peanuts varies directly with the weight of the peanuts. At a local grocery store, 2 pounds of peanuts cost $5.80. Write a direct variation equation to represent this relationship. Then identify the constant of variation and interpret its meanings. Its meaning. So the first thing we are going to do is find the unit rate, because right now we have for 2 pounds. So to find the unit rate, we have $5.80. Here we go. $5.80 is for 2 pounds. So we've got to find unit rate, that means how much for 1 pound. So if I divide $5.80 by 2, I'm going to get $2.90 per pound. So that this is my unit rate. All right. So unit rate is $2.90 per pound. Now we're going to write the equation using the unit rate. So again, let y represent the cost of the peanuts and x is going to represent the weight of the peanuts. Okay. So cost is going to be y and the weight is going to be x. And we know that your formula is y is equal to mx. So instead of m, we are going to replace it with the unit rate. Okay? So this becomes y is equal to 2 and 9/10 x. And that is my equation for direct variation. All right. And then to find the constant of variation and interpretation of its meaning, the constant of variation is what? It's the unit rate. So the constant of variation is 2 and 9/10. This means that the cost per pound of peanuts is $2.90. So how can you use the direct variation equation y is equal to 2.9x to determine the cost of 7 pounds of peanuts? Okay, so this is my equation. How do I find out the cost of 7 pounds? We know that x is representing the weight. So all I'm going to do is, instead of x in this case, I am going to substitute it with 7 because that's what I'm asking. All right. So how would you determine the cost of 7 pounds? All I would do is take this equation, y is equal to 2 and 9/10 x. And now the x is what? 7 pounds. So I would do y is equal to 2 and 9/10 times 7. And then I would multiply and I would get it is equal to $20.30. Okay. So that is what my answer would be when I am simplifying it. All right. So let's now quickly do one last problem in which we're writing direct variation equations from tables. So let's look at this. And it's saying Aubrey is baking oatmeal cookies for the school carnival using the amounts shown in the table. The number of cups of flour varies directly with the number of cups of oats. Write a direct variation equation to represent this relationship. Then identify the constant of variation and interpret its meaning. So let's look at the cups of oat. Look at the cups of flour, and just by looking at this, what do I see? I'm seeing this is going up by 2, right? And when this is going up by 2, when the independent variable is going up by 2, the dependent variable is going up by 4. So I can see this already just looking at that pattern. All right. So we're going to write a direct variation equation and we're going to find the slope m. Okay. So we're going to find the slope m. And m is equal to a change in y over change in x. So we're going to take 2 points over here. Let's say I take 8 and 4. So what is the change in y? What is 8 here? Change in y, 8 minus 4. Change in x, 4 minus 2. So I've taken these points and these points. Okay, so once again, just to refresh, slope is change in y over change in x. And I'm just going to take any 2 points. And so what do I get? What is 8 minus 4? I get 4. What is 4 minus 2? I get 2. And that is 2 over 1, which is equal to 2. Okay, so the slope of the line is 2. And then I am going to use the value of m to write the equation where we know y is equal to mx. And what was my slope? Slope was 2, so I'm going to replace m with 2, and I get y is equal to 2x. And so the direct variation equation is y is equal to 2x. And to find the constant of variation and interpret its meaning, we are just going to look at the slope. And the constant of variation is equal to the slope. So the constant of variation is how much? 2. And this means that the unit rate is 2 cups of flour per cup of oats. All right. And so basically that's what this entire lesson is about. And we are using the direct variation equation, y is equal to mx. And remember, the m is representing a whole lot of things. Constant of variation is the constant of proportionality. It is the unit rate. It is the slope. So all of those are being represented by m. So have a great day. And that concludes our lesson 8.4.